Hello, Larson Halleck here, and welcome back to my martial arts tutorials. Kind of. For this is an example of what not to do, something you should never do in the lead up to a fight, and many people unfortunately do. This is a process of what I can only refer to as posting up before a fight. It can involve squaring off your feet, holding your arms out in an attempt to be intimidating, positioning your feet to get into a something resembling but not quite a fighting stance, or any combination of the above. This, in my opinion, is the biggest sign of an amateur in combat, contra somebody who knows what he's doing. I don't know if there's a technical name for this behavior, but I have taken it upon myself to dub it the Curly Shuffle, named of course after the antics of one Curly Howard. You know what I mean. Mo smacks Curly and he'll, post up, flap his arms about, make a grumpy face, and stand tall, but ultimately won't do anything to retaliate. Obviously, this is exaggerated for slapstick hilarity, but anybody who's been in a public school gym class has seen real versions of the Curly Shuffle. One kid will shove or taunt or bully some other kid, and the victim will open his arms and puff out his chest and try to get the other guy to back down, but not actually throw a punch, because throwing a punch would get him disciplined. Or perhaps the young fellow was simply intimidated. The goal here is clearly to do a threat display, but maybe it's just me, it always looked silly and instantly reminded me of the Stooges' antics. As a side note, all of this Stooge-related footage in this video is taken from 1936's Disorder in the Court because it's public domain and eat shit, Columbia Studios. Where does this behavior come from? Personally, I think it comes from our simian cousins, an ancient atavism of primeval days. Gorillas, for example, have elaborate ritualized intimidation displays before they finally start throwing down. Eye contact, chest pounding, teeth baring, and so forth. What you won't see, at least as far as I'm aware, is them going from 0 to 60. You're never going to see one gorilla just walk up out of the blue and clobber another out of nowhere. Maybe in some ancient primordial past, posting up was an effective threat display, but those days are long over. Anybody who knows the signs will and should start clobbering the other guy in the midst of the threat displays while betraying no emotion of your own. Is it dishonorable to not give the guy any warning? Yeah, probably. But should you find yourself unfortunate enough to get into a street fight, honor kind of goes out the window. I feel, from my own experience, that the Curly Shuffle is usually an involuntary response. Most of us are, after all, taught that violence is bad always and you shouldn't hit anybody at all, which is another reason that we may do this, to perhaps prepare ourselves mentally, psychologically for violence. How can we train ourselves not to do this? Well, obviously, if you get into hundreds of fistfights, eventually you'll learn to see it as just another day at the office and thus not need to pump yourself up, but putting your life at risk hundreds of times is usually not a good idea. This is where meditation really comes into play. Obviously, you can't get rid of your anger, but with practice, you can compartmentalize it and control it. Are you meditating? You should be. Not too long, even 5 to 10 minutes is good. I do 20 myself. When somebody is threatening you, quickly do a bit of what I call conscious meditation. Obviously, don't close your eyes and get into lotus position and such. Just focus on your breathing while keeping your eyes on the guy. Do enough so you don't start flapping and spluttering, and don't betray your emotions. Calmly amble over to the offender and then start kicking his ass. This will probably require practice. Ask your friends to practice, if they would be willing to do something that, on the surface, seems pretty inane. Or alternatively, next time you talk to your boss or somebody who annoys you, practice staying calm, because if you can control yourself there, you can control yourself until it is time to not control yourself. I'm Larson Halleck, and you can disregard everything I've said if, in fact, the song Pop Goes the Weasel drives you into a violent rage. Here's a word from our sponsor. Hello, my friend. Are you frustrated with the machinations of Western women? It's not your fault, it's theirs. So what can be done? Try some Eastern European women, straight from the FSU to you, ready to be swept off their dainty little feet. I mean, what else is she gonna do? Go out with some guy wearing a tracksuit? If you're interested, go to simplydating.com using the affiliate link provided in the video description. Sign up today, and remember, the more services you purchase, the closer you'll be to finding her. Go forth and find your little Diev.